This image classification model currently only has 56% accuracy. So in this video, I'm going to give you 4 tips to improve the accuracy of your machine learning model with Nyckel. So let's take a look at this function. It's called mask versus no mask, and we have 5 different labels: wearing a mask, not wearing a mask, nose exposed, nose and mouth exposed, or worn over eyes. If we click on train and click any, you can see all the data here. And so you can see all the red, both in the accuracy bars over here and the predictions here, are incorrectly predicted samples. And so overall, our accuracy is 56%. And you can see there's a lot of red here. And then you can see Nyckel is predicting a lot incorrectly. So for example, Nyckel's predicting this as wearing a mask, and it's actually nose exposed. And then Nyckel's predicting this one as nose and mouth exposed, but it's actually not wearing a mask. So you can see Nyckel is getting these incorrect. So for your first tip to improve the accuracy, let's look at the labels. So these 5 labels are the ones we chose, but maybe we don't need those 5. And so the first tip is to consider condensing or removing some of your labels. Based on your business needs, maybe we don't really need this level of detail. So instead of nose exposed, nose and mouth exposed, and worn over eyes, what if we delete these 2 and just combine them into one that's called incorrectly worn? So then we have 3 labels: wearing a mask, not wearing a mask, and incorrectly worn. So if we look at the 56% accuracy over here and click save, that immediately jumps up to 70%, because now Nyckel has an easier job to only distinguish between 3 instead of 5, especially those 3 we combined were pretty similar. If we click over to the train page, now there's a whole bunch of unlabeled samples. And so by labeling these, we can improve the performance even further. So this is indeed incorrectly worn. In fact, all these that we just removed were incorrectly worn. So I can click through on those. So it temporarily reduced our accuracy, but as we train, now we're up to 84%. So just from condensing those labels from 5 to 3 and then relabeling all the samples that were associated with the now deleted labels, we increase the accuracy all the way up to 84%. Tip number 2 is to look at all the samples in which Nyckel's prediction is wrong. So by clicking function output disagrees, that means Nyckel's prediction disagrees with the annotations we provided. And so Nyckel says not wearing a mask, and we annotated it wearing mask. So in this case, we actually made a mistake because this person is indeed not wearing a mask. So I can click not wearing a mask, and our accuracy goes from 84% to 87%. After training, actually back to 84, but that's okay because we can keep training. Here's one that says not wearing a mask, and we put wearing a mask, and indeed that person is not wearing a mask. So I'm going to correct that one. We're up to 87%. Nyckel's going to retrain back to 84%. So this one says wearing a mask, and we put not wearing a mask, but actually the person is wearing a mask. So we're going to correct that one. Now the accuracy is up to 89%. And so now Nyckel's only getting these 4 samples wrong. Let's try to improve that. So now we're at 89% accuracy. Tip number 3 is to add more data for these edge cases. And so you can see Nyckel is perfectly predicting everyone who's not wearing a mask. So if we look at just our labels of not wearing a mask, Nyckel gets every single one of them correct. So if we again go back to disagrees, we can see Nyckel's kind of getting confused on some of these kind of edge cases where people are wearing a mask incorrectly. So what we're going to do is we're going to add more data surrounding those edge cases. So I'm going to click add data up here and then go to my folder and add a bunch more images of people incorrectly wearing a mask. So you can see all these people are incorrectly wearing a mask, and I'm going to assign incorrectly worn on the way in to save myself some time. And then I'm going to go find some more images of people wearing a mask. So here's a bunch of people wearing a mask. I'm going to assign wearing a mask and click import. As it's importing, you can see we're up to 94.2%, 94.7%. Nyckel's going to retrain. Now we're at 95%. And now it's only getting 3 wrong. So in addition to it actually correctly predicting all those new samples we added, the additional training data actually improved the model, so there's only 3 wrong. I think we could probably get this to 100% by adding more and more, trying to find images that look like these 3 that are similar to those to keep giving Nyckel better clues about these edge cases. But that's tip number 3, adding more data around the edge cases for the samples that Nyckel's incorrectly predicting. Tip number 4 is to just do nothing. That sounds crazy, but one of the beauties of using Nyckel is that we're constantly integrating new and improved research that's coming out of academia and the cutting edge machine learning research. And so we're internally improving our processes. So even with your exact same data, your machine learning model will improve over time. So that's one of the beauties of using Nyckel. So there you go. There's your 4 tips. Hope that helps you improve your machine learning model with Nyckel.